Her mother has basically said that she's going to work very hard to get her back so that she can abandon her again, because she doesn't want anybody else getting her, but she doesn't want to take responsibility either. She was kidnapped by her dad and taken to skipping states. Anytime that CPS for that state would be notified of them, they would just move to another state.
Somebody wanted to affect a number of areas within our society in one fell swoop. We're talking homelessness, we're talking teenage pregnancy, we're talking drug abuse and addiction. Y'all didn't even mention that one. We're talking prison population, we're talking unemployment, we're talking a number of the things that just churches in general are going, hey, we would like to invest in that.
Yes.
And so these are an ideal place to invest in all of those, is to serve this almost forgotten, right, side of the system.
The prisons figure out how many beds to put in for the next year by how many teenagers are aging out of the system.
If we had one person in every church in San Angelo that had their homes open, then every kid in San Angelo would stay in San Angelo when they get pulled from a family.
We started to get licensed, and again, my parents were kind of pushing back.
Yeah, they didn't understand.
New Year's Eve, 2013. My dad and I were walking down to the shop. He looked over and said, my mom and I have been talking. We realize that what you're doing is a mission field. People take their kids to China, take their kids to Korea. If God can take care of them, he can take care of you. So I give you my blessing.
Yeah.
So
you can hear what that meant to you.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the feeling of when a kid called you mom. Some of them call you Esther, Esther, Esther for years, and when you finally earn a mom from some of the older ones, you realize, okay, I have put in the time, I put in the effort. They are serious about that mom. My mom married my stepdad, Gary, when I was 14. So to me, he was never my dad. He was my stepdad. And I would always tell people that. And I would always call him Gary. And after the teenagers, I called him bawling, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize she went and she didn't come back. She didn't want to come back. So Tim went and picked her up, forced her into the vehicle and said, come on, you're going home. Within 24 hours of her coming back, she had packed her bags. She had had a family member from San Angelo come and pick her up. As she gleefully got in the truck, packing her stuff, every one of us was standing on the front porch just bawling. I think Jesus calls us to do the hard things.
Yeah.
If there's nobody in this world that does the hard things, then we're all miserable, I think.
My name is Justin, and I'm joined in this episode with Tim and Esther Dixon, who have quite a foster care and adoptive journey. And so will y'all just briefly introduce yourselves?
I'm Esther, and this is Tim, and we're the Dixons. We have 7 girls, from 26 all the way down to 6.
7 girls.
No
all
boys.
Girls. Recently became grandparents as well. Are they girls as well? Is there any hope for any of the in-laws to have any boys, or do you think it's just destined?
Our oldest one is supposed to have a boy in January.
Okay, here we go. So we got Tim and Esther, who are recent grandparents. We were talking about your grandparent names also. Who will you be known as to the coming generations?
So I am Chops.
And I'm Essie.
Chops and Essie. Nobody can guess why Chops might be that, but Tim is known all around town, mostly for those chops and the activity that he spends giving towards foster care, and now even into those aging out. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but this is one of those kind of interviews that is strange for me, or podcast is strange for me. It's coming from the church perspective. There are, like, most of us know names like Martin Luther and some of these big names and guys that did just amazing things in history, and their names are always remembered. And I don't know that I should make this analogy or not, but we'll go with it. There's a man named William Tyndale who was actually one of the first to translate the Bible into English, and he is less well known. I mean, there's a translation company that uses his name, but he's less well known. He did it before Luther, but he ended up being martyred for that. And just the story itself is one of those that's interesting to me when I think about our relationships, because y'all were doing a lot of what Chelsea and I are now trying to do. If I don't hit my mic, that would be a good thing. Landon just bounced out of his chair over there. Forgot that was there. Y'all have been doing for years much of what Chelsea and I are kind of entering into as well. And so y'all used to run support groups. You used to be you still are big advocates around the city. And oftentimes, I don't think get necessarily the credit that you deserve in that front. And so I'm excited to have y'all on here just to share more of your story and to tell some of the ways that you're continuing to work for this. So before we get into all of that, tell us what got you into fostering in the first place. Which one of you first got the bug and then made the other one come on board, is the way it happens oftentimes. Tell us a little more of your story.
Okay, so back in February 2013, I went to a district-wide Assemblies of God meeting, and it was just as the Assemblies of God was stepping into the foster care ministry and getting involved with Brother Blake.
A bunch of big stuff. Started in Brownwood, which is really cool. They do Stand Sundays and big initiatives to try to make more than enough homes.
While there, Pastor Kyle from Bateman, from Wichita Falls, had just begun Phased In, which is a aging out program that they have up there, and it's starting to get into the Metroplex and a couple other little houses. And God reminded me of a vision that I had back around 2000 of just like a big dorm structure. And back then I kind of thought it may have been for Chi Alpha, because that was kind of when that was getting started too. And, you know,
college ministry.
Something like that. And but then, you know, just over the years it kind of faded, and then that came back to remembrance. It was all I could do to sit still the rest of the way home. I mean, there's 6 people in Pastor Walt's little Honda Pilot. So, and we were all adults, so it was comfy.
6 full-grown adults at a...
Yeah.
And where was this meeting held?
In Waxahachie.
In Waxahachie. So you had quite a drive, to say the least.
So, yeah, it was interesting. And so I got home and like told Esther kind of, hey, this is what I think we should do. And...
My response was, I don't think so.
You've heard wrong.
I said, I do not think that's what God's calling us to. I said, we homeschool. I said, all of this will be brought out. I do not want all these people in my house. No, you heard wrong. And then God got a hold of my heart, and he told me, do you not think that I can take care of your kids? If you want protection for your kids, you better protect mine. And I said, okay, I'm moving, Lord. I'm moving. I will not question you anymore. And so we started the nonprofit, and we got
the state license.
Yeah.
And then for about a year, we just kind of kept spinning our wheels, not getting anywhere at all. And Bishop Blake came down to San Angelo, and New Horizons was having a meeting, and he was there, and
So hold on, let's go back. What do you mean by spinning your... So how long did this process take for the Lord to reveal this to you or to get you on board? Was it like, all right, we went to bed that night and woke up the next morning?
It was probably about a month.
About a month
that God was dealing with me.
Continually going, okay, I called
100%.
this. And what was it specifically that you were feeling called to at that point? Was it fostering, or was it the dorm structure kind of thing?
Age out.
Yeah,
kids that were no longer had a home after they age out when they turn 18.
Okay.
Now it's there is a program where they can stay until they're 21. Okay. But that was who we were called at the beginning to minister.
And how old were your kids at the time? Because you mentioned you were homeschooling already.
So 11?
Yeah, I think the oldest was 11, and the youngest would have been just barely 2. Yeah, so we had 11 to 2. There was Marina was in the middle of that.
Yeah, and everybody forgets about the middle kids. It's okay, Marina, we love you.
Yeah, so we had an 11, what would she be? 8?
Yeah, we got to scratch that from Kim. Make it look like she knew that immediately.
11, 8, and 2.
Let's do a cut. All right. How old were the kids? 11?
11, 8, and 2. There you go.
Perfect.
That's totally seemed natural.
So you had 3. You had 3 at home.
3 at home.
11, 8, and 2. And Tim comes home and says, we need to take in aged out teens and welcome them into the home. And your immediate response is,
no,
I've got to protect my babies.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a very natural response. I think one of the, and you've probably heard it 1,000 times, one of the most asked questions that we get is, what about my kids? Right? And that's exactly what you're going through. So answer that, expound on that a little bit more for me. How God brought about that kind of mindset, and it still brings you to tears today, but can I not protect your kids?
I was worried because you always hear about cops showing up at your door when you homeschool, especially back then, because it wasn't us. It was getting better. But back then, when I started with my oldest, I mean, you would hear of cops coming and saying, oh, hey, you're not going to school, so we're gonna, and then just worried that somebody would come into our house and like, oh, well, your house isn't clean enough, or, oh, my goodness, your kids aren't in school. Your kids aren't being taken care of in the way that somebody thinks. And so all of those negative thoughts were going through my head. But when God says he'll protect your kids, I mean, that's much higher of a seal of approval than anything that I could ever do.
Absolutely.
And so I had to trust that he was going to take care of them. And looking back, he has. Yeah. He's taken care of all of the kids. He's taken care of the ones that we brought into our house. He's taken care of my girls. And they have a heart that I don't think they had before. Yeah. Their heart is to bring the hurting in and, you know, just share with them and just love on them for whatever time we have.
Yeah.
It matured my kids a lot, and I see what God did through that.
He created in them more so the heart that he has to go and chase the lost and the broken, the heart that he has to find the forgotten and to give them help and a home that's needed. It's one of the beautiful things that fostering does is kind of give us that tangible expression of the gospel, right? That God did this for us. He entered into our story whenever we had no hope on our own. And then wherever we found ourselves, he comes in and he draws us out, and then we can now mirror that. And that's fun for your girls, because your bio girls are now how old? I know, put you on the spot
19.
again. Marina, let's start with Marina.
Marina's 19, 14, and then Anna's 23.
Yeah, 23, right?
And what's funny is Anna is our oldest biological. When she started dating her boyfriend, she basically sat down at the table and said,
Like second date.
Second date. Like,
this is on the list, sir.
Like, okay, we're not going any farther if you don't realize that if anything happens to my parents, we take in my little sisters.
Okay.
Like, that is just on the books. It's been there since the day they brought them home.
Wow.
I will take them. And my heart is for adoption, and at some point, we're going to take in some kids. And I mean, it just, like, I don't think she would have done that if we had never gotten into this.
Yeah.
But her heart and of course, my son-in-law being the sweet guy he is, he's like, that's totally fine. And if anything happens to my mom and dad, we have to take in my sister. And so they just got on board real quick with that.
That's fun. That's fun. All right. So at this point in the story, you've got 3 bio kiddos at home. Tim comes home and says, I think we're called to aged out youth.
Yep.
And the Lord brings you along over about a month span of now being on the same page. Mm-hmm. And then y'all begin to, what did it start to look like as far as you said, you kind of spun your wheels for the first?
Yeah, got one of the cheap software programs and drew up like a floor plan and, you know, kind of started planning that route.
An actual dorm structure like what you had in mind. Okay.
And then I went to a few churches, talked to a few people. Mm-hmm. We got some support. Everybody that heard our story thought that it was a great idea, but actual monetary support and just like people coming up behind us and supporting us emotionally, you know, whatever else, just wasn't happening. About a year in, Bishop Blake came down and suggested directly to us, why don't you actually start getting into the foster care system, learn, because it's a whole new world.
It is. It's a whole new language. It's a whole new world.
It is completely different. And that was very sage advice.
Yeah, it was.
Because our hearts were in the right place, obviously, but our heads were completely in different places.
Not sure where to go next.
Yeah, we started to get licensed, and again, my parents were kind of pushing back.
Yeah, they didn't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and New Year's Eve, 2013, my dad and I were walking down to the shop, and he looked over and said, you know, my mom and I have been talking, and we realize that what you're doing is a mission field. And people we're the Assemblies of God, we're very much into missions and sending people all over the world. So he's like, people take their kids to China, take their kids to Korea and, all over the world in places that aren't exactly friendly to Christians. And it's like, if God can take care of them, he can take care of you. So I give you my blessing.
Yeah.
So.
And you can hear what that meant to you.
Yeah.
He had the same hesitations Esther did. That's
He
funny.
did.
It's interesting, right? What about my kids? Hold on a minute.
That's exactly, yeah. That was right before we got our home study done. It started on April 14th was when we got our first placement. Or licensed April 14th, first placement April 20th. Yeah.
It was very quick.
It,
Yeah, it was a teenager, a
Okay.
girl. We called her Bree, and her family had grown tired of all of her outbursts and everything, and because she had been in the foster care system as an infant, and they had adopted her, and they said it was too much, and so they just basically took her to CPS and said, "Here, have her back." And CPS is like, "That's not how this works. Like, you can't just bring your kids here." And so they basically was like, "Well, then she'll be homeless." And they just kind of left.
Wow.
And so she was brought to us, and she had the attitude, but she had the heart of just taking other kids in.
Really?
Yeah, so 6 months into it, she goes, "I have a friend at school, and she is at the girls' home.
Girls' home.
And her mother has basically said that she's going to work very hard to get her back so that she can abandon her again, because she doesn't want anybody else getting her, but she doesn't want to take responsibility either. So, Mom, can you please," and she called us Mom and Dad. She was like, "Mom, can you please take this girl in?" I said, "Okay." One teenager has been like a lot. Like, you're expecting us to take two in. And she's like, "Oh, we get along so well." And I'm like, "Yes, but you're not living with her in your room, always in your stuff." So I said, "Well, that's a little different." And so we kind of talked about it. And so we went to CPS and our worker, and we said, "Can we?"
That was one of my questions. I was like, can you?
And they're like, "You can't just pick out kids like that. That's not how it works." And I was like, "Okay, can you at least see if she would be interested in meeting us?" And so we did get to meet her at a football game afterwards. And she had a sister who we're going to call Karma. And Karma wanted to go back to her mom. So they were working to get her to return home. Katie, I think, had finally decided. She saw through the veil of everything that was going on, and she had had enough, and she just didn't want it anymore. She did not want to talk to her mom. She did not want to see her mom. She didn't want to have anything to do with her mom. And so she did move in with us.
Okay.
It took about 2 months, and they got in trouble together.
Oh, yeah.
They decided to sneak out and go down to the river at the middle of the night. And, of course, they got caught when they tried to come back in the window. Yeah. And, "Oh, yeah, we were just getting sick out the window." Tim
Just
goes,
need some fresh air.
Tim goes outside, and he's like, "Well, there's no puke out here." Me being the ever-loving, oblivious person, I'm just like, "Oh, they're telling the truth. They wouldn't be lying to me." And Tim's like, "Did you smell their breath?" After that, we realized we couldn't keep both of them together. And Bree threatened Katie and said that she was going to basically beat her to a bloody pulp. That's what she texted her.
Wow.
And I said, "We can't keep them together anymore. They're becoming aggressive to each other." So they found Bree a new placement place, and Katie stayed with us.
Okay.
And she got adopted, and she's our oldest daughter.
Okay.
And we got to go to her wedding, and she's already talking about us coming to see grandbaby when he's born.
Hopefully the boy.
So
Yeah.
that was our first placements. We've had 12 total placements.
14 and 12 years.
Okay, 14 and 12 years.
Right.
They're like the middle daughters. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's one or two in there that we forgot about.
But we had one kid that came to us that was 8 or 9, and she went back with her grandpa. And so her grandpa was able to adopt her. So we had that happen.
Stayed in touch with her.
We still text her and talk to her. We had a newborn that went back to her parents. Oh my goodness, that was the hardest thing. Keeping them for 6 months, and then
And
like literally over the weekend, they're like, "Okay, they're going home."
Yep.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, no. And then they called us about another newborn baby, and we got to keep her for 3 days. And I told the agency, do not call us about any newborns again, because it's too hard. Well, somebody in the office did not get the memo. They called us about 11-day-old baby, and they said that the mom had threatened the person that was supposed to be coming to pick her up. And so she bailed, and they needed somebody to come and pick her up. And so we agreed, and I tease her that she took longer to deliver than my actual kids, because I think we got there at like 12 o'clock. And just problem after problem. And we didn't get to take her home until like 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And so it was really late. Tim had to like take the kids to go feed them. But yeah, that was one of our youngest ones that we adopted. And then we found out a couple months later that her mom was pregnant with another one. And those are our two, we call them our Irish twins, the littlest ones.
Yeah. And they're how old now?
6 and 7.
6 and 7. All right. And they are super cute and very different. It's funny to watch just how different their personalities are. So in all, y'all have adopted 4 kiddos.
Correct.
Right? And you had 3 of your own, all girls. What would you say is the most surprising thing of your journey so far?
I didn't expect the feeling of when a kid called you mom, because your kids call you mom all the time. But when these kids come in, some of them immediately start calling you mom. Some of them call you Esther, Esther, Esther for years and years. And when you finally earn a mom from some of the older ones, you realize, okay, I have put in the time, I put in the effort. They are serious about that mom. It's not just a little baby saying it. It's serious. In fact, it got to the point where my mom married my stepdad, Gary, when I was 14. So to me, he was never my dad. He was my stepdad. And I would always tell people that. And I would always call him Gary. And after the teenagers, I called him bawling, and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how disrespectful sometimes it could be, because I'm calling you by your first name when you've done all of the things that a dad does. And so I literally had to make a conscious decision to start saying dad to him, because he had earned it. He took me at my worst through those teenage years and all of the stuff I threw at him. And then he loved on all my kids and everything. And I'm like, okay, why am I not calling him dad?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's when you realize that those mom and those dads, when they say that, sometimes it's not easy for them.
Yeah.
And that's a good moment. And you realize it's worth it. What about you?
My first biggest shock was how immense the need really was, and how insufficient we, the general populi, were at taking care of the kids and the system itself. And that's a whole nother story. You always hear of foster kids and orphans, and I mean, it's all over pop culture. And you go through the whole Marvel list of superheroes, and 90% of them are orphans, and you know.
Right, the rags to riches story. Cinderella even. It's all throughout our culture.
Right. And so once you actually get into it and realize, number one, how great the need is, but also it really wouldn't be that difficult for 1% of San Angelo to step up. And I mean, you know, that's all it would take.
If we had one person in every church in San Angelo that had their homes open, then every kid in San Angelo would stay in San Angelo when they get pulled from a family. And then some. If we had 1 out of every 2 churches have somebody, we would have enough. And yet there aren't enough homes for the kids.
Like you said, we were doing this before you, and when I started, it was one for one was basically the number. And due to kinship and other things, you know, they're pushing that more. Then I can believe it's gone to 2
It's
to
down to 1 and 2. If we had 50 open homes in San Angelo, and we've got just over 100 churches, if we had 50 open homes, then every kid that comes from our county could stay in our county. And we could even take care of Midland and Odessa's.
And you're going to talk to our heart. We feel like somebody has to step up for those teenagers.
Yeah.
Because the teenagers are not getting put here. They are being taken to group homes. And I don't know if you guys know what group homes are, but they are not pleasant. They are not something that you want. You have to rent a razor to shave your legs, and then you have to give it back after you get out of the shower. You cannot just go into the bathroom, have a shower, and take your stuff with you. They can't be trusted with those stuff. They search your stuff. You don't have any privacy.
There's a lot more restrictions, and there's not near the privacy that you would have at a typical. It's not a family environment. So a group home is exactly that. There's paid staff and multiple kids residing under one roof without the typical family structure, and so it's not near as.
And I mean, we know that they're trying to do it to keep kids off the street and stuff, but if families would just step up, those kids would have a much better place to stay.
It is difficult.
It is difficult.
It is difficult, but it is very.
It is very needed.
But it is very needed, especially the teen side of the equation. And so y'all adopted 2 teens?
2 teens.
Right. You've adopted 2 teens, and has it always been easy?
No.
No.
Is it always a super happy ending, or is everything along the way just sunshine and rainbows, but is it worth it?
So the story's not over yet.
The story's not over yet.
With our second one, the story's not over yet. That's what we're holding on to. The oldest, when she turned 18, she decided that she wanted to go back to her biological mom for a week. I think it was a week or 2 weeks. But she was going to go and hang out with them. And she was 18. She'd graduated from high school. So we thought, okay, go ahead. So she went, and she didn't come back. She didn't want to come back. So Tim went and picked her up, forced her into the vehicle, and said, come on, you're going home.
Well, and she had ASU orientation.
Yeah, she
next
did.
day. So that's what, you got to be there.
Come on.
You got to go.
And so within 24 hours of her coming back, she had packed her bags. She had had a family member from San Angelo come and pick her up. As she gleefully got in the truck, packing her stuff, every one of us was standing on the front porch just bawling. And she was happy. So she went to live with her biological mom for about 4 or 5 months, and she realized it wasn't going to work again. And she moved up to Kansas near some of her biological family, and she's been up there ever since. But in the last, has it been about 2-3 years?
Probably 3 years.
In the last 3 years, she has started reaching out to us again. When she got married, she had us up there along with her biological family and all the parents. And
I got to walk her down the aisle with her biological dad.
on both sides. So both of them got to walk her down. And I mean, she included us. She had all of our family in the wedding with her.
Yeah.
And so the heartache of everything she'd put us through, it fades. You start remembering the good times.
Yeah.
When she calls and she just wants to talk. When she told us that, I'm going to have a baby. Like, oh, good. And then, she asked advice like, Mom, what do I do about a boy? And I'm like, honey, I don't know. You're going to have to ask someone else, but I'll be encouraging you.
Ask me anything else.
But I mean, it is great when you get to start seeing that again.
Yeah.
And I'm praying and hoping that the second one will start reaching out maybe sometime soon.
Yeah. And then y'all adopted 2 straight from the hospital. Did they both end up coming straight
home from the hospital?
Both of them home from the
Yes.
hospital, and they're now
One at 11 days, one at 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yes. So her story is, they told us that she was going to have a feeding tube. That's why she was there for 6 weeks. They couldn't get her to feed right. They couldn't keep the food down. And
Failure to thrive is
yes, what they kept calling it. And I don't know that it was failure to thrive. I think it was failure to have human contact. We walked in.
Which one is this? Layla?
This
by
is
chance,
Layla, yes.
Who loves human contact.
She
who
loves
is
human contact to
the
this day.
people person of all people.
But when we walked in, we saw her wrapped up, swaddled in the hospital, and she wasn't making any noise. She was the biggest baby in the NICU, but she wasn't crying. She wasn't making any sounds, and I know they probably thought I was the craziest lady because I unswaddled her. We started moving her arms and legs. We read Winnie the Pooh every time we could get there, and I mean, we're taking her to the window and showing everybody, like, look, it's your sisters. And so, I mean, like, and then they shipped us to San Antonio, and they were going to have that feeding tube put in. And I said, I don't think that's going to happen. So we fed her every hour, and she gets 2 ounces, whatever she could get. We just would feed her every hour, and she'd keep it down. And they said, okay, she's keeping down enough, she can go home.
Wow.
And our pediatrics doctor says that sometimes the people in San Antonio is like, how's that crazy lady with the little baby doing? She goes, oh, it's just like, no, we're going to do okay. Because it wasn't that she would get tired and she'd fall asleep, but she was still hungry. And so if we fed her a little bit every hour, she could keep it down.
What's interesting in those young ages, which is part of what fostering enters into, but in those young ages, just how much the human contact, the interaction actually does for the brain stimulus and the way that it affects things all the way into their teenage years. Just in those first 3 to 6 months, the interactions that you're talking about there paved the way for her to be able to thrive to where she is today, whereas the malnourished or the neglected, they talk about neglect being far worse on the baby or on human psyche than abuse ever is, simply because we almost forget how to be human if we don't have that interaction. And so it's incredible to see. And so y'all got a number of adoption stories. We've got good, we've got hard. Is it all worth it in the end for the kids?
I would say it's worth it.
It is worth it.
It is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done, but
Prepare for a roller coaster.
yeah.
Even if everything goes well, it's still be ready for a roller coaster.
But I think Jesus calls us to do the hard things.
Yeah.
If there's nobody in this world that does the hard things, then we're all miserable, I think. Because we have had people that have done nice, generous, loving things for us. Why wouldn't we do that for somebody? And I think a surprising thing, at least with our teenagers, if you look back at their history, like, when you get adopted, they usually give you a big file folder of their life. And it's just a big, gigantic green folder for the older two. And if you look back, most of them could have been taken from their parents at a young age, but they worked the system and got another chance. And then, especially with our oldest one, she was kidnapped by her dad and taken, just skipping states. Anytime that CPS or that state would be notified of them, they would just move to another state. And so for many years, she just traveled and they stayed hidden. So a lot of the troubles that I think teenagers have stem back to when they were little.
Exactly what we were just talking about with those.
It's that little. You have to invest when they're little. You got to invest when they're a teenager. But they stop trusting you as teenagers if they haven't had somebody invest in them when they were younger.
Yeah. But that can be overcome if you've got people like y'all that are going, even through the difficult, we're willing to stick through it. Even through the tears, the heartache, the sneaking out at nights, the whatever other stories you could also tell, you're ours. You're here, you have a home, you have a family, and those relationships, the brain can actually even be repaired in that sense, and wholeness and identity can actually begin to form. And it's neat to hear the oldest daughter kind of coming around to that. It's neat to hear the bio kids learning to invest in these situations, growing up in the way that that's all shifted and changed for them, and even their care now for the two younger and the like. So now to kind of bring it back to 2013 and the original kind of mindset of we want to build a dorm and everything. Tell us more on what y'all are doing now. We're not taking in new kiddos. We've adopted 4. We're now raising these 2 younger ones. You've still got 3 in the home.
Yes.
Right? We've got 4 and the one we forget about in the home. Sorry, Marina, we love you.
We do love you.
I remember.
She's graduated. She's old.
She's old. She's got a job.
She's got a
she
job.
takes care of herself.
We've got 3 that we're still raising, but we're not done investing into this community. And so what is it that y'all are doing?
We have started a new journey is a ministry for kids that are aged out.
Or unaccompanied.
Unaccompanied. And
What do we mean by unaccompanied?
So unaccompanied is kids that technically still have parents, that their rights haven't been taken away or anything like that, but they are homeless or they've left home.
Staying on friends' couches.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're taking
One way
care
I
of
describe it
themselves.
is kids that probably should have been in the foster care system and just for whatever reason got missed.
Okay.
We're currently trying to build 8 tiny homes so that we'll have those. We have services that we provide for them currently, such as they can go pick out stuff for their first apartment. So they have kitchen supplies, bathroom supplies, and we've had
A few bedroom decorations, just kind of.
to make your home.
Trying to make a house a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, the things to help make your house.
And we've had 3 that have used it this year
Awesome.
alone. We also have laundry service so that kids don't have to pay for laundromat. They can come over, watch movies while they do their laundry. And then for the holidays, they are welcome to come to our Thanksgiving and hang out with our family. And for our Christmas, they can hang out for Christmas with us. So those are some of the things that we currently provide for them.
We also have interviews, clothes closet, interview, clothes closet.
So that they don't lose a job just because they're not dressed appropriate.
So stuff that's a little nicer than just t-shirt and jeans. And we have provided temporary living assistance for a few different youth. And sometimes that's been crashing on the couch at the Hive. The Hive is what we affectionately call the little section of our warehouse.
Right. So far,
that the kids can.
the idea is instead of a big single dorm, right, the Lord has kind of shifted that vision a little bit to 8 tiny homes. You mentioned it quickly in there. And all of those kind of connected with one general living space of sorts or shared space, which is what you call the Hive.
Yeah.
And the Hive is already built
Yes.
in existence. It's the tiny homes that we're still looking to in the future.
We do want to eventually get to the dorms.
But that's moved to phase 3, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, figured that we can get a tiny home. If we can get 2 tiny homes started, they can see what we're doing, and it's easier to get people to get behind us and help.
Absolutely.
And
We get
That's
more
something
stories, and the more
tangible.
stories that we get, the more people go, okay, I want to jump on board with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
We
what are
did-
some of the stories that we have so far? There's been a couple of young ladies that y'all have even utilized the Hive for.
Right. There's been another youth that we paid for an extended hotel room
Okay.
for 3 weeks until paperwork was done.
yes, we've done a lot of helping kids find, have a home before HUD
Yeah.
kicks in, because sometimes you can't go straight into HUD.
Your heart is for the aged out youth, and we're hoping to build 8 tiny homes. So where are we right now in the building phase? We need 8 homes. We have a Hive. Where are we right now?
We own the property. It's been in our family for 60 years. We've cleaned off the land.
In October, we started clearing out lands. So we need a survey, blueprints, and then we have a church lined up that is willing to build
The first 2 at least.
first
Okay.
2 at
And
least.
kind of see where that goes. And
The really pressing thing that we need is just some monthly donors. Even $10 would help, because with grants and stuff, they like to see monthly donations coming in, even if it's a little bit, just to get that grant money.
Okay.
yeah.
And
So to fund the rest of the builds or the rest of the tiny homes, or even the prep work to get the tiny homes in,
Right.
or trying to get some grant money, but consistent
we need consistent
Consistent
monthly
donations.
giving, and
Yes.
people getting behind this vision is really what we need to be able to show.
Yeah,
People getting
that's-
behind this.
Because that's what the grant people.
So why is your heart so much for the aging out and not necessarily for those in the system?
The prisons figure out how many beds to put in for the next year by how many teenagers are aging out of the system. In 2 years, most girls will be pregnant and may be homeless. A lot of them, I don't know the exact statistic, will be homeless.
I think it's over
33%.
50% that age out of the system will be homeless within 3 years.
Yeah.
They give you a check and say, have a good life. And For a kid that has been in the system that doesn't even know, I mean, like, they know how to use money, but most of them will blow that money in a matter of no time at all. And our kids, our oldest two, didn't even have really jobs, because it's very hard. I don't know if now, but back then it was very hard for the foster kids to get jobs and have reliable money and stuff, because they were going to school and all the stuff that they needed to do for foster care. So when they got to 18, they didn't know how to fill out applications. They didn't know how to get jobs. They didn't know how to go get their apartments. They didn't know all the requirements for an apartment. And if they needed to get HUD, how long it waits and all of this stuff. And we had to work through this with one of the girls that was with us for 6 months. She didn't know any of these things.
Yeah.
And she was happy kind of just sponging off anybody. She didn't want to make the changes.
Somebody wanted to affect a number of areas within our society in one fell swoop. It might be that the aged out foster community could be like the ideal demographic to do that. I mean, we're talking teenage pregnancy, we're talking drug abuse and addiction. Y'all didn't even mention that one. We're talking prison population, we're talking unemployment, we're talking a number of the things that just churches in general are going, hey, we would like to invest in that.
Yes.
And so these are an ideal place to invest in all of those, is to serve this almost forgotten side of the system.
Yes.
Those aging out. And so that's what you're looking to do. And so over the next 12 months, we would love to see 8 tiny homes built.
Yes.
We've got 2 ready to be built once we can finish clearing out the land, getting some of the zoning and the like. And then from there, there's even additional phases so that we continue to care for these kids. And that's the heart of a new journey.
Yes, that is
incredible.
it.
So I'm excited to even get the vantage point that I have to work alongside y'all in a number of ways, to partner with open homes and the like, the way that y'all serve us, the way that we can hopefully serve y'all as well. And thank y'all for joining us. We're excited to see what the future holds, and really looking forward to seeing those first couple homes built and hearing more stories in the future of these young adults that are served. And so thank y'all.
Thank
you for having us.
Thanks for watching this recent episode of the Open Homes Initiative podcast, where we believe that your story matters to God, and as such should matter to us. We hope that you've enjoyed this, that you're inspired by it, that it's created a little more awareness, and that you'll begin to partner maybe with us in the system, or like in this episode, with other organizations around it. Thanks.